I fight for the user. It's showtime, folks. So, our power pick for today is Tron Legacy. Now, let me tell you something about Tron Legacy. I don't think at the time that this movie came out, it was all that successful. But with recent news that Tron Ares is coming out, I thought to revisit one of my favorites. It was due time, you know what I mean? And Tron Legacy, with all its faults, is still a Chuco's power pick. So getting into what Tron Legacy is, now, Tron Legacy, I'll be honest with you, is one of those movies introduced to me by my dad. He bought it on DVD, first of all. I never even saw it at the theater. He saw it at a store and he looked at it and he's like, huh, Tron. I remember they did something like this back when I was younger, or back when I was a kid, and whatever. And, you know, he gave me a story about it. And I remember him just buying the movie and us sitting down to watch it. So knowing nothing about Tron before it, you know. And so what Tron Legacy is, it's a story about a father who's developed this game, you know. And in this game, he's developed this complicated AI system, in which he's telling his young son that he hopes to change the world with it. And one day, Kevin Flynn, you know, is called to work and he disappears, you know, he just completely disappears, leaving his son, Sam Flynn, as the majority shareholder of his father's company. But years go by, and now in his 20s or in his mid-20s, Sam Flynn is the majority shareholder, and his dad's company is not what it used to be. You know, they've really shifted from this change the world kind of attitude to a attitude of just trying to make money. It's kind of like, you know, slapping the same title on a video game every year and calling it different. But anyway, so they're going down that route, and Sam Flynn is trying to stay true to what his dad's vision was. But when he's doing this stuff, he ends up being called to this retro arcade that his dad used to own, and he ends up being sucked into the world of Tron, his dad's game, and he realizes that this AI system that his father created has a life of its own. So you start seeing, you know, Sam go on this adventure where he finds somebody he thinks is his father that goes by the name of Clue, played by the exact same person, Jeff Bridges. So you get this nice, rather ahead of its time story about this AI model that is, you know, replicating what it thinks to be the perfect system based off of what Kevin Flynn had intended for his world to be. And you see, you know, the conflict there of what the intended system design was to be versus what the AI system has created as the perfect system. But you see a lot of different things go on. So let me get into some of the pros of Tron Legacy and kind of get into it. Now, this is something I really enjoy about Tron, is that there's this, like, I think this was a big step forward for Disney at the time. Like, I don't remember anything prior to this. Now, mind you, I was 10 years old when this movie came out, I think, around there. It's almost 15 years old now. Now, at the time, I don't remember Disney tackling heavy themes like this. I mean, I know we were in a changing world. You know, we were definitely kind of taking steps towards, like, the internet and stuff like that. And we had already had the internet and whatnot, but I don't remember Disney ever kind of really, like, engaging in things of this nature quite yet. Now, I could be wrong. I don't really remember all too much of what was going on at that time, but I do remember this being a big step up. Like, for me as a kid, you know, I wasn't watching, this wasn't an animated movie anymore. This was kind of like a step up into live action movies with, you know, bigger CGI and kind of like deeper themes. Deeper elements to it, and it's something that I enjoyed, especially because it still has the Walt Disney symbol on it. I think this was a big step forward for them, and I really enjoyed that, you know. And I just, on rewatch, I just recently rewatched this, and it still holds up pretty well. Like I said, I think it was ahead of its time. It probably didn't do well at the time it came out because people were like, Tron Legacy, like, I had to see like Tron before this. which you don't. I mean, because I haven't. I still to this day haven't seen Tron, like the first Tron. It was ahead of its time, especially now, you know, going through, you know, we're having discussions, especially in modern times, about AI and the use of AI and how it's going to benefit humans and how it may not benefit us, and, you know, the pros and the cons and all that. Tron was like way ahead by talking about stuff like this, and it was something that I enjoyed. Another thing I enjoyed about this is just like the colors, the atmosphere, stuff like that. It was like super futuristic even in 2010. Like you see all these like designs and stuff, and I know it is based off of, like I said, Tron before it, but you get to see like these games that were designed in live action. So you have like these like futuristic motorcycles, these Tron bikes, where they're playing this life and death game. You see these discs where they're fighting each other with them, they're tossing them, and that's something that is like really cool, especially when you're a kid. You see this and you're like, whoa, this is intense, you know what I mean? And although I did see it like in 4K now, and it made some little aspects look a little shaky, and we'll get into that, it still surprisingly holds up. You can see what Disney was starting to try to do, and I'm okay with it. You know, it holds up better than like, obviously, than stuff like in the 90s or the 80s or anything like that. But surprisingly, I think it's still really, really nice visually as a movie. I do like the color palette choices. I enjoy the costume designs, and I think it's just overall well done. Another thing that I enjoy about this movie is the performances. I never thought that the performances were poor or anything. You got Jeff Bridges in here. You have Garrett Hedlund, and you have Olivia Wilde, who are primarily your characters that you follow. I will say probably Garrett Hedlund is the one that is maybe he's our lead in the movie, and he might be a reason that it wasn't as well received. But even then, I don't think he did terrible. He didn't do a terrible job or anything like that. It's just one of those things where it's kind of hard to follow Jeff Bridges. You know what I mean? You're on the screen with Olivia Wilde and Jeff Bridges at the same time sometimes. Yeah, it gets kind of hard to, you know, keep people's attention. Be that as it may, the movie itself and the performances are really well done. Going back, I did mention it a little bit before, but the costume designs, that futuristic feel, all that stuff, that's a pro to me as well. I like that futuristic feel, that atmosphere that they create in Tron Legacy. I think it's really, really cool. Like I said, you have these people in like futuristic lit up suits, these cool helmets, these cool motorcycles, you know, these off-road vehicles that are all lit up. You know, I just think all that plays very, very well into the feeling that they're trying to get of this other world of Tron. Because you do start off on Earth in this movie. You start off in what was then modern time Earth, or modern day Earth. And so you see like your normal stuff, you know, your B-roll of like trees and motorcycles and just normal Earth stuff. You dive into this computer world, you definitely feel it, and you feel like you're in there with the characters, and I think that's great. And the last pro I'll get into about Tron Legacy is that the score is by Daft Punk. Now, I don't know how many of you are Daft Punk fans, and they split up a couple of years ago now, but I have always, ever since I was a kid, been a Daft Punk fan, and to see them, you know, get a project like this and be able to put music out for this project, man, I can't say enough positive about the music in this movie, just because it is Daft Punk. And to this day, I rock out to the songs of, you know, The Son of Flynn and stuff like that. And it's just one of those positive, extreme positives of this movie of Tron Legacy. Now, getting into the cons, like I said, our lead isn't exactly exceptional. You know what I mean? And I think, like I said, it goes into where it's not that he's a bad lead. It's just more that, man, you're competing against Jeff Bridges and Olivia Wilde. I mean, it's kind of hard. It's difficult to follow. And also, another con I have with this movie, and I won't tear it apart too much. This is a power pick. Another con I do have with this movie, likely, is it's just not as accessible to everyone. You know what I mean? This isn't going to be one of those, you have to watch it, everybody has to watch it, everybody's going to enjoy it. It's not. This is definitely a sci-fi experience. It's one of those futuristic simulation kind of feel movies. And if you're not really into the science fiction kind of movie, this isn't going to be for you. It's definitely a fun movie. but it's not one that's going to be one of the things that you need to put on the 100 movies you need to watch before you die. Personally, I enjoy it. I love the music. I love watching it. I've rewatched it now within the last couple of years, like 3 or 4 times. But even then, for me personally, I hadn't rewatched it prior to that. But it is still an enjoyable experience. There's nothing crazy about this movie, but it's just one of those things where, as a con, it's just not accessible to everybody. You know, I understand that not everybody's going to enjoy this movie. So why not give this movie a rating? Tron Legacy, like I said, is exceptionally fun, for me at least. I love the music, I love the costume design, and I do love the character performances. But it's not accessible to everybody. So with that being said, I would have to give Tron Legacy a 2.5 out of 5. So you're telling me there's a chance. There is a chance that you will love this movie. I personally enjoy this movie. I think it's, you know, on a personal level and enjoyment level, it's way higher than a 2. You know what I mean? When you hear the number 2.5 out of 5, it sounds like a negative review, but it's not. It's really down the middle for me. I do enjoy it, but I don't, you know, when I say there's a chance you'll like it, the reason I have to say that is because I understand that sci-fi is not for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not into like the zooms and the flies and you got these weapons that they can throw, and you got these motorcycles that have beams behind them, you're not into the costume design, you're not into that, like that techno feel, you're not gonna enjoy this movie. So 2.5 out of 5, so you're telling me there's a chance. But what do you think of Tron Legacy? Have you seen this movie? Do you want to see this movie? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Disagree with what I'm saying? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, I'd really appreciate if you like and share this video. Or if you want to hear more from good old Chuco, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe. You know, I really like engaging with all of you and talking movies. But guys, if you're ever stuck on the grid, always remember something my friend Tron used to tell me, and that's